52-4-207, I apparently have determined that conducting meetings of the Provo City Design Review Committee with an anchor location, such as the Community Development Conference Room, presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present there. These are the facts upon which I have made this determination. First, Utah has been in a declared state of emergency due to the novel coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, since March 6, 2020, a disease outbreak which the World Health Organization has characterized as a pandemic. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention state that COVID-19 is easily spread from person to person between people who are in close contact with one another. The spread is through respiratory droplets, which an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. It may be spread by people who are non-symptomatic. Federal, state, and local authorities have recommended that individuals limit public gatherings, wear face masks, and follow social distancing guidelines. That individuals exposed to persons experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 self-quarantine for 14 days, and the individuals experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 self-isolate to prevent and control the continuous spreading of COVID-19. Notwithstanding that Utah generally and Utah County specifically have been moved to a lower risk. This is older. Now we're orange. To an orange phase. Reported COVID-19 cases in Utah County have more than doubled since May 31st, 2020. Physical distancing measures will be difficult to set up and maintain in the Community Development Conference Room. Therefore, for the next 30 days, all meetings of the Provo City Design Review Committee will be conducted entirely via electronic means. Design Review Committee meetings are broadcast live and available later on demand at youtube.com/user/Provo Channel 17. Agendas and support materials are available at provo.org/design review. To make a public comment or to join a meeting via telephone, follow the instructions provided on public notices of each meeting. To send comments to the Design Review Committee members or weigh in on current issues, email them at DS, that's Delta Sam, public hearings at provo.org. So is it all right that I change that phrase? Because it says we're in phrase yellow, but we're not. Okay. I don't know how important the verbiage is for this document, but there's more. Do I read the back? Holy crud. Okay. As amended by HB 5002, Open and Public Meetings Act Amendments, 2020 5th Special Session, Utah Code Annotated ACA 52-4-207 provides that a public body may convene and conduct an electronic meeting without an anchor location if the chair of the public body, A, makes a written determination that conducting the meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. B, states in written determinations described in subsection 4A the facts upon which the determination is based. C, includes in the public notice for the meeting and reads at the beginning of the meeting the information described in sections 4A and B, which is this. And D, includes the public notice information on how a member of the public may view or make a comment at the meeting. The UCA 52-4-207 states that a written determination described in sections 4A and B expires 30 days after the day on which the chair of the public body makes the determination. Okay. You get to drink water though.
We can start with introductions. We have people in the room here, so we can start in this room.
George Bill, design review.
Quinn Peterson, design review.
Aaron Armour, planning staff. James,
Yep, James Hall, design review.
and then Cole.
Cole Houghton, design review, with some kids running behind me.
And I think, is that all of our design review members? The rest are with the applicant. Okay. So then we can move on to the item for today.
Okay, so I see on our agenda, we've got a couple items. We got one project, and then we're electing a chair and vice chair.
Right.
Okay. So project one, Robert Vernon requests project plan approval for a 74-unit apartment building located at 85 East 100 North in the general downtown DT1 zone, downtown neighborhood. Dustin Wright is working on this. Cool. So Robert Vernon and team, let's hear the plan and proposal. But Robert Vernon is muted.
I'm
Okay.
muted. Yay. You think after all this time I'd pick that up and not do that, but still happens. So we appreciate your time to look at this today. We are proposing a 7-story, 74-unit apartment building on, we're calling it 85 North 100 East. It is going to consist of 2 condominiums. We did it that way for financing purposes. This both are being done with tax credit financing. The first condominium is a 44-unit senior apartment condominium that will be 62 and above. And the other condominium is a 30-unit condominium for adults with autism. We will have on-site wraparound services to serve that community as well. And we also, in purchasing the site, we got a lease on 120 parking spaces in the Wells Fargo parking garage, which is where our parking will be. That in a nutshell is what we're doing.
Cool. And then just as a reminder for everyone on the committee, the presenters, and anyone else who's listening, any public comment, the purpose of our committee is design exclusively. I know a lot of times we talk about parking and funding and whether this is market rate or, subsidized. I think those are all fine questions to ask, but our objective is design review exclusively. So cool. Can we see some of the different layouts, elevations?
So why don't I have Jackson jump in here? Jackson is the lead architect on this. He's with FFKR, and he can talk more design speak than I can.
As I unmute. Thank you, Robert. So this is the east elevation. We're planning to be the bottom 2 stories be a brick, and then the top stories would be cementitious fiberboard for siding. We've got the bottom 3 levels are for the autistic individuals. The top 4 levels are for the seniors. One of the things we worked hard to do is get some in and out on the building, especially on the street sides, so that we so we keep a lively environment at the street. This here is the north elevation on 100 North, so we have some in and out. And this right here, this is the alley elevation, so this is the alley side. We are a 0 setback, and so we're right on the sidewalk. We get to enjoy the excitement of being downtown. We do get also the proximity for all of the residents to be downtown. So here are our colors. So you can see where we selected the brick On the very bottom of you'll notice we have kind of a plinth, a very dark brick that we go for the bottom 3 feet. And then we go to a little cream colored brick on the next 2 stories. Then we have a precast piece that will separate the brick from the siding, the cementitious siding. Then we use kind of that dark gray and cream color again for the upper siding. And then we do have on the underside of the soffits of the balconies, we have a cedar board just to give it kind of a nice bit of warmth that you'll see from below. It just gives it a nice feeling to really help energize the streetscape, energize the sidewalks. We also will have meet city standards for sidewalk preparation. So we'll have trees on there to match all the tree standards. Yep. In fact, we'll also have pavers and some green with those. In fact, this is a great site plan here to show where we have balconies, and these extend all the way down to ground level. So we have outdoor spaces for the units at ground level at the sidewalks. So we engage the sidewalk and keep those lively. On the top right of the building, you'll see we have a little larger balcony that is for setback for view angle so that we can see as people drive out of the alley. We have worked hard to make sure all the utilities are tucked behind the building. And so in the top left side, you can see where all the utilities are. So we've got our gas meters, our electric meters, our generator transformers, and everything is back there. We also have a garbage chute with garbage that is collected there in the back. So that'll be done from the alley, keeps everything in the back and nice and clean up front. We also have amenity spaces in the building. We've got the main one would be is in the entry. We have the lobby. We have some game rooms, a library, and a gathering room. And then on the 7th story, we have an amenity deck, which with views of to the north and to the mountains on the east.
Cool.
Which, probably visible in the next slide. So that's kind of the short version.
Okay.
I'd love to open it up for questions.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to have members of the design review board go through comments, questions, input. If I could, before we do that, I don't know anything about James or Cole. I'm curious what your background is, whether it's just a concerned community member or an architect or a landscape architect or what. So I'm just curious if we can lean on you for expertise on one of these places.
I can jump in first. I studied architecture at the University of Utah and got my master's degree there. Upon graduation, though, I pivoted into tech. So I manage a UX design team at a software company. The company's in San Francisco. I do it remotely from here in Provo. So haven't practiced as an architect for several years now, but did work as an intern for a while in a firm up in Salt Lake.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I work as a custom home designer, just doing architectural design for new builds and remodels and everything. So been doing that for about 5 years, and I am currently enrolled at UVU in the architecture program. So trying to be more involved and trying to help where I can help.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And so, I run the Business Alliance Downtown Provo Inc., and I'm the Downtown Neighborhood Chair, but I am not any sort of architect. Do you want to let them?
Yeah, George Bills with Design Review, also not an architect, do land planning and development consulting.
Cool. Okay. So committee, what kind of, I'll dive in with a couple questions. You mentioned the zero setback, and that's because you're in the DT1. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so just so that I can wrap my head around that, that means your structure can go right to the sidewalk. Is that correct?
Right to the property line, yes,
The property line. Okay.
which is the sidewalk in this case.
Okay. And then I'm curious just to sort of orient myself. I see it in the photo here, but when we look at the south side, what is the relationship to La Dolce Vita? Is it going to touch that structure? Is there a gap there?
We have a 3-foot gap.
Okay. And will there be some sort of sidewalk there for utility access or something, or
So they can't drive between the two then?
I guess not?
No,
That drive, okay.
So that's just the south side. You can see it in that last picture. You can kind of see it.
in this site plan, you can see
Oh, and
that-
this one shows it, yeah. Okay. So are you adding trees in there?
not currently. We would have a fence to keep people from going back through there.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay.
So with the landscaping then, I guess in this zone that they're in, is what they have around front gonna suffice?
Dustin can comment on that. He's the project planner on the application. Dustin, do you want to address that?
Oh, is he?
Unmute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so as far as landscape goes, there's the downtown design standards that they'll need to follow, which it does have brick pavers instead of grass, as you can kind of see in this image, but it does require street trees along the street frontages. And so that's essentially the landscaping that this would be required to have, is to follow those downtown streetscape design standards for spacing on trees. And then as far as kind of the public right of way there's going to be sidewalk, amenity space, and a kind of a transition space there for benches, trash can receptacles, bike racks, things of that nature are what's included in the right of way as far as the downtown streetscape standards goes. So we're still kind of working through those items of placement on those, but yeah, that's kind of how the street frontage is going to look. We'll have pavers, trees, benches, bike racks, things like that.
So one of the things that was mentioned was that the building is gonna go right up to the sidewalk or property line, which is the same. Does that mean the balconies are gonna overhang the sidewalks?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure in this
No.
project. I don't think they do, but our code does allow for that to overhang. So, but it looks
No, they're set back.
Yeah, it looks like everywhere there's a balcony, the building is set back, so the balcony is flush with the
Correct.
edge of the structure.
The only thing that hangs over the sidewalk is the marquee at the entry.
Is this as tall as the Wells Fargo building or taller or
A little shorter.
a little shorter?
Our floor to floor is less than their floor to floor.
But they're both 7 stories, right?
Jackson, you're talking about the garage, the Wells Fargo,
Building, not the garage.
the actual Wells Fargo building. We are about the same height, I think, from what I can tell.
Okay.
Do we have any?
If I may, sorry. I think the structure looks great. The only concern or potential concern I would have is just the color scheme and how it matches up with that 63 on Center. Just that larger apartment complex right next to where Los Hermanos used to be. Is there anything we can do to maybe make the colors a little different so it doesn't look so I don't know. So just to give a little bit of separation from that structure where it's so close.
Yeah, Dustin, can you pull up 63 East?
Let's see. Aaron, would you be able to pull that up?
I can't.
Oh, see, I'd be having a nightmare right now. Everybody's gone.
Where are we at?
Did we advance the slides to to where it shows the actual products for the materials? Take a quick look at that as well. So yeah, right there. It's always hard to tell over a screen and with lighting. It's always better in person. But we really were looking to pick materials that work with the downtown environment, that are part of the fabric of the city. So that was our approach, was to really work within the context of downtown Provo.
Yeah, you know,
Go ahead.
I have it open up on my computer, and you know, now that I look at this slide compared to the actual 63, I don't know if that's as much of a concern as I thought it was going to be.
The upper part of that building is much different than what you see at the street level.
Right. You want to try and go around the backside?
Yeah, can we go around the corner there?
Yeah, because the backside, the alleyway shows a lot more of the new materials. Yeah, here.
So middle side.
Cole, what do you think?
So, oh, they're going next to the restaurant then? So this stays, the restaurant's there.
So it's going to be flip side of, yep,
Yeah,
right there.
in that
Mhm.
field.
With that 3-foot gap between them.
Yeah, I think it's different enough that I was just worried, especially that top part is where you would mostly be seeing it from where the proposed structure actually is. But from a street level, I mean the front, the front elevation of that 63 East seems to be more of a precast instead of the brick. And the colors seem to be, oh yeah, I don't think it's as much of a concern as I thought it was going to be.
Are there any better close-up images of the different sides, the exteriors? Okay, that's pretty good.
Now, which side's this?
This is the north elevation.
What's
So
the
this-
material for the balcony divider? Is that just metal or?
That would be the same cedar product, or the same cedar look. So we have that cedar wood, just kind of as an accent to the building.
Remind me where else that goes.
On the underside of the balconies.
Oh, okay.
I love the idea of the cedar into the balconies. I think that's super nice, by the way, just to kind of warm it up.
Yeah, it just gives a nice warm feeling to residents or to pedestrians on the street.
I do kind of have a concern about colors though, and it's totally subjective, just my opinion. I think having some sort of like really nice pop somewhere on this would be really nice. Just some kind of accent color that ties it together and kind of breaks the sort of natural muted palette that you've got going. Because right now it feels like, I don't know, just like it reflects sort of mountain colors and some of the colors of the valley, but it doesn't have like that energizing factor that you talked about with the cedar. I think the cedar helps, but like, I don't know, just a poppy color on the handrails of the balconies or in the front entryway, just something that it doesn't need to be oppressive. I'm not suggesting like all one side being bright orange or anything, but something just to kind of amp up the energy and like activate that space a little more. And then one other thing I was curious about, it's got a really strong horizontal feel to me in the color palette currently. And I know you're kind of separating like the ground level, which is probably has more public access with some of the community amenities there. But I'm kind of wondering like what it might feel like if you pulled either the black all the way down to the ground level and kind of broke that horizontal band that feels very sacred right now in the design, that it's like very strict. I like the black brick for the plinth. I think that's a nice detail. But maybe if like the black came all the way down and then you still had the band, just something to kind of break that very strong horizontal accentuation.
Okay.
And just for the design review committee members, just to remind, as we give comment and we have different feelings and guidance we want to give, we kind of have a handful of different directions we can go. If we feel super strongly that we want a piece of black to come down to the bottom so that it doesn't look like two buildings stacked on top of each other, we could say, we feel very strongly, we're going to vote as a committee that we want you to go work on that and come back for review. Or we could say the current plan is approved with a suggestion, and then that goes in the notes to the planning commission, right? Or we can just approve it as is. So that's kind of three different directions we can take. If we feel strongly about something that needs to be changed, we can just say it as a suggestion, which goes in the notes that the planning commission will see, but it's not a requirement. If we vote as a committee that we want to require changes, they go rework on that and come back. Just for Cole and James, if that's not something you've done before.
That's good. Thanks.
Anything you'd add to that? Okay. Okay. Jackson, how do you feel about those comments? I like those comments. I do feel that it does look like kind of two buildings stacked on top of each other right now.
It does have, especially in these renderings, the best place to see it, if you go back to the colors that we've selected, we show the materials board. We really work to make the brick and the siding be a similar color, but it does have that. It does have a strong horizontal for the bottom two floors. There could be some possible ways to get some ways that we might be able to break that strong line where we show the precast now. That we could perhaps maybe take the windows themselves down so that they break that precast line and tie the upper 5 stories and the bottom 2 stories together.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be too difficult to create that for the planning commission meeting. It'd be pretty easy to do that. Maybe break that line, that precast line.
Okay. I think those are great comments and concerns. Design review, do we have any other questions or comments before we go to hear from, if there's any public comment?
Well, that was my question. Do we have any neighborhood? Have we got anybody on here from?
Not that I see, but now I can tell us if anybody's on the line waiting to comment.
Yeah, so right now we're asking any public comment if there's anything.
There are currently no public comments, so we'll give it a minute.
Okay.
While we wait, one more question. Any plans for like planting up on that roof, kind of open space that you described earlier?
Not at this time. We have another facility, Cascade Gardens, an elderly, affordable building, and we were required by the low-income housing tax credit program to do some planter boxes and gardens on the top, and they've been nothing but trouble. I mean, we're taking 2 of them out now because we can't get water up there. We've got to go get inside of walls to get water up there, and we've decided just to take them out. So I would, they look nice if you keep them up over a period of years, but the maintenance on those is very expensive. And being an affordable building, we're not going to have a ton of extra money to be able to do something like that.
Okay.
So this structure is targeting this is built for that same demographic, right?
Yeah, it's 44 senior units and 30 will be adults with autism.
Okay, right.
There are no additional public comments.
Okay, so the question now comes to the committee, if we want to make a requirement or we just make a suggestion that they make those changes before they go to planning commission. Or if we want them to make those changes and then come back to us. So do we have any motions?
If I could interject real quick and just say that we welcome suggestions, but don't want to be delayed on this. We're trying to get this thing moved forward. So, you know, I feel like Jackson in our partnership with him, he's very responsive, and so we would prefer suggestions at this point if possible, and we will work on it. Thank you.
James, how do you feel about a suggestion?
That's fine with me.
Okay. Well, then I need someone to make that motion.
Well, I motion to approve with the suggestion to break up that those colors like we discussed.
Okay. Second.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I
A little baby and I too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was cold.
yeah, that's a good eye from my 1-year-old.
Quinn, can I interject and just get a little clarification on the conditions so that that's clear for the applicant to go and make those? So is the motion that they move forward planning commission, but they make those changes, or do you want them to come back?
It's a suggestion that they make those changes, but they don't need to come back.
And then are the changes, let me see if I can jump back here and just clarify. So would it just be, if you can see here, change the color of the brick here to this darker brick to go up to this?
No, I think it's up to their discretion. We want them to find a way to bring some of that black down or bring some of that kind of taupey color up. But either way, just to tie the two pieces together so that it looks like one continuous project. James, would you say that's accurate?
Yeah. More about just kind of disrupting how horizontal it currently feels.
Right.
All right, thanks for the clarification there.
Okay. Hey, we have one more item.
So yeah, the next item, I guess, is to elect a chair and a vice chair of this committee. Is Phil
So
still around? or-
Robert and Jackson, you don't have to stick around for this if you
Okay.
don't want to, but thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Is Phil still around?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still on the committee.
Okay. So I don't know anything about this. Is there a duration for this, or is he just would like to take a back seat?
It's typically 1 year. Every year we elect a new chair and vice chair.
Okay.
It's done by one of the design review members nominating a chair and a vice chair, and then you vote on that nomination.
So who are the current chair and vice chair?
Currently, Phil is the chair and you are the vice chair.
Oh, then it's only right that he moves up one.
Well, I didn't even know I was the vice chair somehow. That's funny.
So that's what I would do. I would nominate Quinn to move up to chair, since he's already had a year's worth of, he knows what he's doing. And so, who do we still have? Is Carol still on?
Carol's on, but not here today. So Carol and Phil are missing today.
Okay, and so Curtis and Roger are gone. Those are the two.
Bingham, Scott.
Scott.
Or Scott.
Scott,
I mean,
that's
yeah.
what we meant.
Okay. Well, I would just say to James and Cole, Scott and Roger were the two very strong architect opinions and voices. They were the ones that basically rejected all the proposals because they had input. And I think it was always valuable input.
Yes, it was.
Usually I felt like my role was to temper their emotions a little bit, but I thought that it was good input. So we just need you guys to speak up with a critical eye when you see it.
Sure. And is it like, what was the ratio? Both Cole and I are new, so we don't have any context on what these meetings were like previously. Was it,
Yeah.
I don't know what the bar we should be kind of aiming for is, like hard fisted or, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I would say in the meetings that I've been to, 10% of them we asked to come back, maybe 15% we asked to go make changes.
Yeah, wasn't very many.
But there were times that either Roger or Scott would feel so strongly that they would vote against our motion because they felt really strongly about significant changes that need to be made, which I think is also fine. Because then that direction is given to the planning commission, who ultimately makes the decision. Sure. We're making recommendations to that committee, basically, but they're the ones that make the ultimate call. I will say part of the balancing act with this group is Scott always wanted the buildings to look awesome, and he always would bring examples of really great buildings, but the disparity was we're comparing $100 million building to a building for autistic adults with government subsidies, and so the cost is often what we're trying to balance, because we want it to look nice, not cheap, but we want it to still be affordable. And that's kind of the balance I think we need to strike.
Okay. Well, that's always the tension of architecture too, is cost,
right,
glamour, and function.
Right. Because if we felt really strongly that we wanted more high-end buildings and that is something the community needs, and unfortunately the market is not steering it, we don't really have the authority to force those things, but we could ask for different zoning changes that would require certain materials and so on. I don't think that has anything to do with our committee, but we could make recommendations for those types of changes through the planning commission.
Also, to add to that, there are parts of the city and zones in the city which do have design standards, which you'll want to check the proposal against to make sure. I mean, staff is doing that in our staff review, but that just gives you a little bit more quality of what to expect with some of these zones, especially in downtown or the high density residential zones.
Yeah. For example, we did just work on a Tudor home that was being demolished to build apartments. And it was really hard for our committee because it's in a section where we have like 4 Tudor homes.
Sure.
And they're like the only ones in the city. But the design standards for that neighborhood don't allow for that stucco and wood is no longer allowed in that area. So they couldn't even bring back a Tudor project in that region, which was extremely frustrating. And so we tried our best to sort of balance the code and our recommendations to not totally lose that little section of Tudor properties. So yeah, and I'm not as familiar with the different zoning requirements also because I don't know anything about architecture. So,
Got it.
But there are some in some areas.
But there is a nomination on the table that needs to be seconded and voted on for the chair of this committee.
Well, I made the nomination.
George made the nomination.
I'll second.
Well, then I'll nominate George as the vice chair.
I'll second that too.
Wait a minute.
Oh, all in favor of, do we have to do them together, separate, doesn't matter? Okay, all in favor of those 2 nominations?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm voting for you.
Okay, aye as well then. Okay,
Vote to adjourn?
yeah, we're adjourned.
Okay.
So I had a
Thanks,
question
guys.
on this. I
Thank
didn't
you.
know
See ya.
if it was